Hi guys, welcome to another episode of LiveFearless, and today we are going to talk about the questions you must ask your partner before you decide to get married. Blindly in love, is it? So what next? You've met the one and now you've decided you want to spend the rest of your life with him. But is it sufficient for a happy married life and for your individual happiness? You know, they say love is the most important ingredient in a marriage, but a wise man has also said, we both said I do, and that was the last time we agreed on anything. We as women have evolved over the last few years. Our expectations from our spouses, marriages, our life in general has changed a lot. So even if we are working women or stay-at-home mothers, we still have our aspirations and dreams that we want to follow. So even if you are a stay-at-home mom, your expectations out of life are a lot different from what they were before. Honestly, I think life for women has become a little more complicated in the past. When women were only homemakers, they only had the responsibility of the household and family and children. But now, when women have started working, they actually have to manage between the house, the work, the kids, and so many other things. And unless your husband and you are on the same page and he's aligned with what you want to do in life and how you're going to both manage the household chores, it's going to be really difficult to take care of the situation. And honestly, in India, you do not just marry the guy, you marry his entire family. And hence, it is very important that both the spouses have their expectations set just right in terms of how they want to deal with both the sides of the family. There is no way to escape certain conversation, and it is better that you have them sooner than later. It's better that you have them before the marriage than after the marriage, when you might not have a way out. So here's a practical list of questions that you need to discuss with your spouse before you get married. And the first most important question as a woman you need to ask is, do they expect you to pay a dowry? I mean, I know you will say, who talks about dowry anymore, but honestly, we are still in India, and in India, I'm sure in smaller cities or in certain communities, dowry is still asked for. I mean, I'm really confused. You're supposed to give yourself and a dowry? I think it should be the other way around. The second most important question that you need to discuss with him is regarding your career or aspirations. If you choose to work after marriage, does he support it? That's very important. Also, does he expect you to quit for any reason? Maybe when you have kids, or maybe his job needs moving, or any other reason like that. You should also want to know that if there are career aspirations for you to move cities, does he support it? Does he support you wanting to study further? There's another very important point that you should discuss with him, and something that very rarely gets spoken about. A lot of people discuss about how will the husband support the wife when she's working. But a lot of times it's never discussed that if a wife is a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home wife, and if this was a mutual decision, how much of responsibility is the husband willing to take on for her? So if for some reason both of you mutually decide that the wife cannot work, and this could be any reason, you're shifting cities, you're shifting countries, and you don't have a valid visa to work, or you choose to quit your job for the kids, but it's a mutual decision. You also have to ensure that your husband takes equal responsibility or good enough responsibility to provide for you financially at the moment and to save for your future. The third very critical area that you guys need to discuss is kids. The most important question that you need to ask him is if he wants kids. And if he does want kids, who is going to take what sort of responsibility? Honestly, biologically, as a mother, you are going to land up taking a lot more responsibility of a kid. But if you are a working professional, trust me, I'm talking from experience, it might be a little difficult for you without the support of your husband to manage kids, work, and house. So it's a very critical discussion that you guys need to have in advance in terms of how you guys would manage responsibility and how supportive he is in terms of sharing responsibility for the child. There's another very important thing that you need to discuss, and while we are on kids, we should talk about this. A lot of times, because a mother is the primary caretaker of the child, she's the one who gives up on her job, and it's a very difficult decision to make for her, because giving up on your aspirations and dreams, I'm not saying it's a big sacrifice or something, but it takes a toll on you couple of years down the line when the child grows up. And this is something that you and your husband need to mutually discuss and understand in terms of how would your life actually be if you choose to be a stay-at-home mother after you have kids. Another very important area of discussion is family. You know, in India, like I said, you do not marry the person, you marry the family. And it is very, very important that both of you all are on the same page. There could be relatives on either sides that, either of you all don't really agree. How is your spouse going to handle that? There could be times when there are disagreements in the family. There could be times when things you do might not be appreciated. You really need to sort of get an idea or perspective that your husband will have in situations like this. Very critical questions to be discussed, like would you stay in a joint family or a nuclear family? And even more critical question to discuss is how are you going to handle those annoying interferences from relatives whom you don't know what to do about? Another very, very critical area of discussion with your husband is not just how you will deal with his parents, it's also how you will deal with your parents, your friends, people who are close to you. A lot of times we get just carried away and we do not realize that our parents who've raised us are still equally important. So it's very important that both you and your husband are on the same page. You need to really understand what is his opinion about you being around for your parents whenever they need you. Is he willing to take responsibility for them? Can you go visit them when you want to visit? Can they come to your place whenever they want to visit you? These are very, very critical things that need to be discussed. Now let's come to another important area, finances. How are you going to share the financial responsibility? If both of you all are working, are you all going to share equal responsibility? Is one going to save, one going to spend? These are very, very critical discussions. Even so more critical when one of you chooses to be at home and the other one continues to work. One very critical area of discussion is how will the household responsibilities be shared? You might be living in a nuclear family, you might be living in a joint family, and the dynamics completely change. But when both of you are working professionals, always it's been seen that women tend to take on a lot more of responsibility in terms of the housework. So in a situation like this, she's managing the house, she's managing the financial responsibility, also taking care of kids. It is very, very important that you speak it out with your husband right at the start in terms of how is this responsibility going to be shared. It has been observed a lot of working women have been experiencing depression due to overburdening and excessive of responsibility managing both work and household. And hence it's both your responsibility to ensure that the work or the burden is not on just one person but both the people. Something that is a very critical part of our life, but we never land up discussing it. It's our friends. We talk about family, but do we talk about friends? It's very, very important to understand how your spouse feels about your friends. Is he okay with you having guy friends? Is he okay with you hanging out with your friends, meeting your friends? We always tend to give ourselves secondary importance in terms of our social life, but trust me, your friends are at times a backbone of your life, and it is very, very important that you ensure they are present around in your life. If you're a stay-at-home mom, or even if you're a working professional, you would also want to know how your spouse feels about you pursuing a particular hobby, because your life is always way beyond just your work or just your kids, right? And it is always important to ensure that you have a hobby or you have something which is your own, which you believe in and which you aspire to and which you hope to continue doing and which gives you joy. So we've spoken a lot about what are the questions you want to ask him regarding yourself. But for a successful marriage, there are also a couple of questions that you need to ask him about himself. It's very important that you know what are his aspirations, what are his priorities in life, what is it that he wants to achieve out of life. You should also sort of know, what his concerns or insecurities are. One very critical question that you need to ask him is, what are his expectations from you as a wife? When you have these open conversations, you will get a perspective on what is it that he expects out of you. And I'm sure that is going to help you answer a lot of these questions. One very important area that you guys should also discuss is, how would you handle disagreements? you will be two different individuals with two different opinions, and it's not possible that there will never be disagreements between y'all. But you guys have to decide on how would you mutually ensure that you respect each other and you'll choose to handle that disagreement. There are going to be a lot of situations in future where clear communication is going to be the key, and setting expectations correct right at the start is obviously going to help. No two individuals are the same. Hey guys, if you've enjoyed this video, do like, share, comment and subscribe. You can also follow me on my Instagram handle LiveFearlessOfficial, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Until then, live fearless.